This episode of GunBlog VarietyCast brought to you by lawofselfdefense.com. Go to lawofselfdefense.com/variety to learn about your state's self-defense laws. Sign up for one of their online or in-person seminars or buy the book Law of Self-Defense and get 10% off when you use the discount code VARIETY at checkout. That's lawofselfdefense.com/variety. Sit back, relax, and take a ride with us on the GunBlog VarietyCast, episode 43. Welcome back to the GunBlog VarietyCast. I'm your host, Sean from NC GunBlog, and with me today is Adam from Guns, Cars, Tech Blog. How are you doing, Adam?
Well, I turned 35 last week. And I'm still in one piece, so that's good.
35? That's so cute. I remember 35. Wow.
That's why I like you, Sean. I feel like a whippersnapper.
In my day, we had 086 IBMs. I had a 086 IBM, believe it or not.
An 8086.
Yeah, it was 80086.
Yeah. 8086.
Whatever. Instead of a 286, 386, 486, I had a 086.
Right.
Yep, had one. Those things were expensive. Holy crap. My dad told me how much he paid for that thing. I'm like, in those days, that much money. That was a lot.
Yeah.
It's like, if I ever had any questions if my dad loved me, holy crap, he got us that thing and didn't know how to use it himself. That was the funny part. I had to show him. Imagine how bad that is.
Yeah, my first computer was a 286 that my parents paid $2,500 for in 1990.
Mm-hmm. That
was a lot of money back then. It's kind of a lot of money now. And I remember the sales guy saying, this is the only computer you will ever need to buy.
Moore's Law? Never heard of it.
Yeah.
Well, let's start with the Tactical Dog and Fitness Report. 28.9 dog walking miles. And I took Dices to the new dog park here in Garner.
Oh, the one that you don't have to pay a fee for now.
Thank goodness. Apparently, I'm supposed to have a dog license, but I don't think anybody in Garner actually has a license on their dog. I think it's only actually required if you have a dog license if you have more than 2 dogs. And then even then, I don't think people get a dog license.
That sounds like a strange law.
Nah, I'm not even going to get into it. The more I look at stupid stuff like that, I want to look at other people's strange laws, not ones that raise my blood pressure.
Well, I am working back up to Couch to 5K. Yay! Surprise, surprise. I was actually able to get on the treadmill for a couple of miles 2 days this week. I'm going to do it again tomorrow. I was winded after 2 miles, so that's bad. Yeah. But I'm going to work back up to it. There's actually a 5K here in my town in the next week or two. And my wife was like, so are you going to run that 5K? I was like, no. Just no.
Yeah, we've gotten to that time of the year where it's like take a shower after every time you go outside. You know, I take a shower after I walk the dog in the morning. I take a shower when I come home from work. I take a shower after walking the dog at night.
Yeah. Saturdays are usually 3 shower days for me, too.
Whew. Yeah. Ugh. Oh, well, at least I don't have to work in an office. I don't think I could stand that.
I don't know. Air conditioning's pretty nice.
True, but I got AC in my car.
I'm in a corner office. I got windows on both sides. I'm like cool now.
Yeah, I'm never going to get that high. Well, now it's time for Blue Collar Prepping with that bratty kid sister of the gun blogosphere, Erin Paulette. This week, Erin's going to explain Colonel Cooper's color codes. Try saying that one 5 times fast.
Come on, every pony. It's time for Blue Collar Prepping with Erin Paulette.
Hi, Erin. How are you doing today?
I'm in condition yellow, Sean. How are you?
Condition yellow? What are you talking about?
I'm talking about Colonel Jeff Cooper's color code for situational awareness. Since you're at home, I imagine that you're in condition white. You're behind closed doors, and you have your dog with you, so your guard is down, and you're engrossed in what you're doing on your computer. But because I am outside of my home and recording this in a quiet room, I am in condition yellow. I am paying attention to my surroundings, but I'm not expecting any trouble, and so I am relaxed. Now, if I were to hear shouting outside this room, I would go to condition orange, because something odd is going on, and I would investigate it with caution. Now, if that disturbance turns out to be something bad, like a hostage situation, I would immediately move into condition red. I am now in a life or death situation and will react accordingly. But if it's just someone with a particularly loud inside voice, I can go back down to condition yellow.
Oh, right. I've heard about this. Don't they teach something like this at the Gunsight Academy?
Yes, they do. In fact, the Gunsight Academy was founded by the same man who developed the color code, Colonel Jeff Cooper. Now, a few weeks ago, when I talked about OODA loops, I mentioned borrowing from another kernel, and this is the man I was talking about.
Now, wait a minute. What do color codes have to do with OODA loops, and how does any of this have anything to do with prepping?
I'm glad you asked that. Color codes and OODA loops are complementary. In fact, the OODA loop describes the transition from condition yellow to red. For example, I am observing my surroundings in condition yellow when I suddenly smell smoke. I orient myself by realizing this might mean a fire that could hurt or kill me. I elevate to condition orange and move to investigate. Now, if the smoke turns out to be burnt toast, I decide to go back to condition yellow. But if it's actually a kitchen fire, then I go to condition red and decide what to do. Do I fight the fire? Call the fire department? Evacuate the house? Orange is the decision stage, red is the action stage. But whatever I decide, I need to perform it with urgency, as this is a life or death situation.
So what you're saying is that despite being taught by a gun academy, these conditions are applicable to more things than just self-defense.
Absolutely. Being a prepper means you spend most of your time in condition yellow. After all, if your nose is buried in a book or a smartphone, you cannot react to danger, and therefore you are unprepared for it. Preppers move to condition orange when something unusual happens, be it someone in a restaurant who begins choking and might need first aid, or if the power goes out unexpectedly, or if there is violent weather, or any number of things. Condition red for a prepper doesn't mean grab your bug-out bag and run into the woods. It just means that you definitely need to take action. Perform a Heimlich maneuver on the choking woman, turn on the emergency generator, or gather the family and get into the storm shelter. In conclusion, OODA loops help you figure out what to do in an emergency. The color codes describe how you should be doing them through the various stages of the OODA process.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. All right, Aaron. Good to talk with you. See you again next week.
See you next week, Sean.
If you'd like to read more from Aaron, check out her blog, lurkingrhythmically.blogspot.com. And it's really helpful that I say this every week because I was actually recording this with her and I had to look for something on her blog. And I'm like, what is your blog? Okay, lurkingrhythmically.blogspot.com. She doesn't use the video on Skype while we're recording, but I'm pretty sure I heard a dirty look.
Yeah, and the eye roll.
Felons behaving badly. Man arrested for stabbing death of 77-year-old grandmother. A Morganton man was indicted this week for the killing of his grandmother in February.
Oh, he killed his own grandmother.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
Suspect 40 had been the main person investigators suspected in the death of Lucille Miller Punch, 77, but they said it wasn't until now they had enough evidence to charge suspect. Police were called to the home of Punch, located on the 400 block of Beth Haven Church Road, on February 22nd after she was found dead by her son-in-law. She was found with multiple stab wounds. Suspect is currently serving probation violation time in Lincoln County, where he was transferred from the NC Department of Corrections. The lead investigator, Detective Lieutenant Tim Johnson, is scheduled to deliver the warrant to suspect during his first Lincoln County District Court appearance Wednesday morning. Punch's murder is the only one to have happened in Lincoln County in 2015.
Boring place.
Yeah, I like that. Well, so we know he's already serving probation violation time, so that, we know what's going on here. Felony breaking and entering, 5/27/2013, felon class H. Larceny after B&E, 5/27/2013, felon class H. Obtained property worthless checks, 5/27/2013, felon class H. Felony breaking and entering, 9/28/2013, felon class H. Larceny after breaking and entering, 9/28/2013, felon class H. Obtained property by false pretense, cheats services, 11/29/2013, felon class H. Obtained property worthless checks, 11/29/2013, felon class H. Cheater, thief, breaking and entering, and now apparently stabbing of the grandma. His own grandma.
So, but he's 40 and your record only goes back 2 years. I find that very curious.
Do we know that he's lived in North Carolina the whole time, or did he live somewhere else?
But
It is kind of interesting.
that's very, yes. What's going on there, I wonder?
It's interesting that he's had his probation revoked twice so far and thrown back in prison.
Oh, no, he's from Denver.
Well, Denver's a city in North Carolina.
Oh, Denver, North Carolina. There it is.
Yeah, that always serves me too. Well, Nikki Kenyon is on assignment and will return next week. Strange Laws.
Okay, so this came up because last night I was perusing Slick Guns because I am a glutton for punishment. Even though I don't have any money, I still like to look at cool gear. I can't go shooting, so I might as well like look at stuff, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah. So I'm looking at this New York Safe Act compliant AR-15, and it's got this like buffer tube on it, right? And then like where the pistol grip would normally go, it's got this weird, funky stock thing that goes up and almost, but not quite touches the buffer or the buffer tube. So I'm looking at it and I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. And then my wife looks over and goes, "What is that?" And I was like, "Oh, well, that's a, that's a New York compliant AR-15." And she goes, "Why didn't they just connect it?" I'm talking about the stock and the buffer
You're talking
tube.
about the U-15 stock, aren't you?
I think so. There are actually several variants, but yes, that is the one. We've got a picture of it in the show notes. Like I said, there's several variants, but yeah, I think that's the one. I mean, it comes very close to touching the buffer tube, and I actually think that there's like, it looks like there's something that slides over the buffer tube that's part of the stock kit.
Yeah, that picture that you're looking at, that's a cheek rest.
Yes. The reason why is because they can be taught. So in the 1994 assault weapons ban, we said no pistol grips, right? Well, people came out with thumbhole stocks.
The original 1994 assault weapons ban was a 2-feature test.
Yes.
So you couldn't have a pistol grip and so everybody adopted they wanted the pistol grip, so they just got rid of every other feature. But the SAFE Act, that's like a single feature test, right?
Yes, it is a single feature test. So we've got the text of the bill up, but it's like really difficult to read. We've also got a PDF up from the governor's office that basically gives some examples of what is and what's not legal and whatnot. So we've got a PDF from the governor's office that the first thing it says is rifles requiring registration. Sean, I think that means rifles that required registration before some date, and then after that you couldn't register new rifles.
I have no idea.
Yeah, we're not from New York. We don't know. This is what it says. Pretty sure that you can't register now new rifles that have these features, but semi-automatic rifles capable of receiving a detachable magazine and one or more of the following military characteristics: folding or telescoping stock. Okay, well, there's militaries that have that. Protruding pistol grip, thumbhole stock. I'm not real sure there's very many militaries that have a thumbhole stock. Second hand grip or protruding grip that can be held by a non-shooting hand. Bayonet mount.
You have got to see the picture of this bayonet mount illustration. Whoever put this up is a complete and total moron. Oh my goodness. This is one of those rifles where they put the front sight so far back that the bayonet doesn't fit anymore.
Oh, yes.
But they stuck the bayonet on there so that like half of the blade is covered by the muzzle.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, that's hilarious.
Yeah. So continuing with the banned features, flash suppressor, muzzle brake, muzzle compensator, or a threaded barrel designed to accommodate the above, and or a grenade launcher. Now, in the original assault weapons ban, grenade launcher really meant like that little muzzle device that went on a Garand.
Yeah.
It didn't actually mean like the M2, the 40 millimeter grenade launcher.
The M203?
Yeah, the M203. I don't know why I wanted to say M240. I know that's not right.
Yeah, you can't have an M240 either, I'm pretty sure.
That's also true, yes. So that's why they have this kind of weird looking New York compliant stock for an AR-15. Now, Sean, when you and I were at the NRA convention, Troy Rifles had a pump action AR-15. Do you remember that?
I remember that. This strikes me as defeating the purpose because, if I want a pump action, I'd get a pump action. But it is kind of funny. It's kind of like a big middle finger,
Yes.
It's like, you can't make us not have guns that scare you.
Right.
So we'll just find our way around it. And I think that's hilarious, is that anything you pull, we're going to do something that you hadn't anticipated, because we can manufacture anything. And half of the fun of manufacturing this is giving you the middle finger. I find that hilarious. That's just hysterical. So yeah, I think that's hilarious, but oh my God, ugly.
Yeah, this is not something that I would want to buy. Doesn't even really look all that comfortable either.
But you got to admit, you get all you want out of an AR-15 in it. You get a semi-automatic rifle with a detachable, easily replaceable magazine, and it's compliant with the law, so they can't ban it. They can't say you can't have it. And you get to, that's, 2 middle fingers to the people who say you can't have it. That's a win.
Yeah.
So in continuation of our recurring segment, I asked LawDog to come on the show and tell us a story. Well, LawDog got rolling about some incident from his youth in Nigeria, just had me in hysterics. When he finally finished this epic tale about a snake and an African pygmy mongoose, Reed recorded 27 minutes of audio. I said, that's a great story, LawDog, but I've only got a 1-hour show. I mean, do you have any shorter stories? Well, LawDog says, I got this one about a chicken. So here it goes. LawDog, a chicken, and a dog named Buster in this little segment we like to call...
This one time?
Born and raised in the wilds of Africa and the Middle East, LawDog has been a Texas peace officer since 1993. Welcome to the show, LawDog.
Thank you.
Well, LawDog, I bet you've seen and done some unusual things in your time.
I have. Had a dangerous dog call from dispatch a while ago back. Get a call, meet reporting party about a dangerous dog, pulling a small trailer park off one of our ranch market roads, and see a man looks like he's waving a baby park at me, and I figure, okay, this is probably going to be my reporting party. Pull up and get out, and the baby parka turns out to be a very deceased chicken. Owner of the decedent has absolutely no doubt as the cause perpetrator of this vile deed. He starts yelling at me and starts out, vicious, brutal, dangerous, I want that hound locked up. He's really wrought up and waving his chicken around, so in order to not get hit with a chicken carcass, I gently take it from him, and I'm asking him, are you sure it's, are you sure this dog? And as I'm doing this, I'm noticing that somebody surgically removed the rooster's comb a while ago back. I'm thinking, well, the reporting party is yelling, am I sure? I saw him run in the yard and maul him. Who's going to pay $500? So he's spooling up for a good one. So I raise a hand, the one not holding the chicken, and say, let me go talk to the neighbor. So he's sputtering, and I walk over to the trailer next door. As I go, I look over the back fence of my reporting party's trailer, and there's about 5 more roosters back there, all on short lengths of chain, and all looking at me. I'm thinking, oh-ho. So I go to the trailer and knock on the door, and door opens, and there's a very large man, gray hair under a gimme cap, full beard, mustache, and every bit braided with these little pewter skulls.
Okay.
I'm thinking, oh boy. I do the normal. I tip my hat and say, good morning, I'm Deputy LawDog with Bogue Scuffle Sheriff's Office. Seems to be an incident with your dog. And I'm looking around him expecting, I'm seeing all these pewter skulls and black leather. I'm thinking there's going to be a pit bull or Rottweiler, and I'm not seeing anything. And he says, well, sir, it's really my fault. And I'm looking, thinking, this is different.
It's not going the way you expect.
It's not going the way I'm expecting. He says, that damn rooster got up in the yard. I'm on yard gnome and starts crowing. And I went to the door because it's bothering me. And I yell, get! And Buster heard me yelling. He sort of took off and jumped the rooster. I said, okay. Before we go any further, where's Buster? I'd hate for some kind of misunderstanding while I'm talking to you. And then I realized that he's got a chihuahua draped across his forearm. A long-haired chihuahua. He's got a little black bandana, a little black neckerchief with white skulls, but it's a chihuahua. And then I noticed that he's got a SpongeBob SquarePants Band-Aid on one furry foreleg and fresh blood. And I'm thinking, you got to be. So I kind of pointed and said, Buster. And Buster wags his tail at me, and the man says, yes, sir, this is my Buster. And I'm looking at this chihuahua. It's a chihuahua. And he rolls over, his belly scritched, and I'm lifting the chicken. Yeah, this chicken's got to be 7 pounds, 8 pounds. I look at Buster, and if you stuffed his neckerchief full of bricks, he might go 5 pounds. Maybe 6 if they're big bricks. And I'm looking at chicken, and I'm looking at Buster, and the man's still talking. Said, I know Buster shouldn't have killed that chicken, but it was in his yard. And Buster gets territorial, and he gets mad at things I get mad at. But I done offered that man $100 for his chicken, even though it was in my yard. I'm going, whoa, 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 whoa. Let's breathe here. And I'm looking at Buster. He's kicking his back leg because he gets his belly scratched. And I walk over to the garden gnome that was indicated, well within the man's property limits, and there's bloody feathers everywhere. So I go next door, and chicken owner is spooling up again. That's a $500. Whoa, dude, stop. You're about to lie to me again, and that would be unwise. He kind of looks at me, his eyes get big, that bottom lip's quivering. And I said, he's already offered you, what, $100? And he said, yes, sir, but that's, nope, stop. Let me speak. I found where your chicken was killed, not even close to your property. If you don't want his dog killing your chickens, keep your chickens off his property. Now, I understand that you're going to want me to investigate and file a report. However, I feel it's my duty to inform you that anything I find during the investigation required will be acted on. As a creative articulation, let us discover that someone's raising chickens for fighting. Well, I have to act on that, and then everybody shows up, and people start search warrants, stuff gets seized, criminal enterprise and all that, and that's just heartburn all the way around, right? He looks at me. I kind of smile at him. He says, sir, come to think, $100 for that chicken is almighty reasonable. So I hand him his dead chicken, and I said, I'll just go deliver the news. So I wander next door, and Buster's owner, who has probably been kind of scared I was going to seize his dog, is pretty happy about just being out $100. And truth be told, I probably don't think he needed about $100. But I'm looking at Chihuahua, who's flopped over and out like a light, just snoring. And I look at him and say, that dog does not weigh as much as that rooster does. And the man looks at me and says, no, sir, he doesn't. I said, you realize that's a fighting chicken, right? That's for cockfighting? He says, yes, sir. I said, that chicken probably had a black belt chicken food. And the man looks down, and he gets this little smile, and he goes, Buster sure that chicken up, didn't he? Yes, sir, he did. You have a nice day now, you hear?
All right, LawDog. It was good to talk with you. See you again soon.
See you.
Catch all the latest from LawDog at thelawdogfiles.blogspot.com.
I gotta stop listening to these segments at work.
I deliberately didn't warn you how funny that was going to be because I thought that would be even funnier.
Yeah. That was a great story. The pewter skulls in that.
Oh, he starts into that. I'm like, oh no, this is going to go real bad.
Oh man.
Real bad. Nope.
Yeah.
Yep. That's my Buster.
I could just visualize the whole thing. And yeah, that's just great.
Oh. I still have the entire 22.5-minute edited story of the snake and a mongoose. So you can look forward to that being released the next time I decide to take a vacation and don't have time to record a show. It's hilarious. Fun with headlines.
All right. So Weird sent me this one. So here we go. Maine's pro-gun governor refuses to sign constitutional carry bill.
Oh, that jerk. He's one of those, isn't he? One of those, I'm a gun owner, but yeah, you're
right.
A gun owner's butt, all right, dude. You need to sign the bill.
That's what I was thinking too, right? So we have an ostensibly pro-gun governor here in Tennessee who said that he would sign constitutional carry if it got to his desk and then did everything in his power to make sure it never got to his desk.
Right.
So let me just go ahead and read you this. On Monday, the Maine House of Representatives voted 83-62 to approve LD 652, a bill that would allow state residents to carry a concealed handgun without a license. The bill previously passed through the Senate in a 21-14 vote, and if signed into law, will make Maine the newest state to adopt what many have called constitutional carry. LD 652 is now headed back to the Senate for review of 2 new amendments to the proposal, and if the amendments are kept, the bill will head straight for the desk of Governor Paul LePage. A staunch defender of gun rights and a supporter of permitless carry, many expected LePage to eagerly embrace the bill, yet the governor has indicated his intent to refuse to sign the legislation if it comes before him. When asked on an interview with radio station WVOM on whether he would sign the bill as it left the House, LePage flatly stated no.
What a jerk.
Yeah.
Flip-flopper.
I know, right? So what are these two amendments, right? That they can carry in schools, or that, they can carry while they're drunk, or, what are they? Well, one amendment was that you couldn't carry until you were 21.
Okay.
And the other one was that you had a duty to notify police officers if you were carrying.
Kind of like you have to here in North Carolina.
Right. Yeah. This guy is more pro-gun than me.
Wait a minute. His objection is that it's too restrictive?
Yes.
He refuses to sign it because it's too restrictive?
Yes. LePage said that the reason behind the answer was because the amendments made to the bill in the House, specifically one that required gun owners to be 21 before they can carry without a license. The reason why is in my office. I have a picture of Wade Slack, who got killed in Afghanistan protecting the freedom of the American people, and he was only 19, LePage said. I think it's inappropriate and wrong to send our kids over to fight wars at 18, 19, and 20, but then they can't carry when they come home. I'm not buying into that. The governor added that he believed in constitutional carry, but that adding the age limit amendment was a slap in the face.
Can we trade, Maine? We've got this establishment Republican here who's, I guess he's trying to get the Mitt Romney vote. You can have him. I will totally take that dude off your hands.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Rick Perry was pro-gun, but this, wow. Wow. That was totally unexpected.
This guy sounds like one of those guys that wouldn't carry a 380 like Rick Perry because he might have a moose he has to deal with. Carry one of them little 380s. That's for you Texas boys.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Maine, let's talk. You can have mine. We'll have yours.
Yes. I just don't want your weather.
No. I'd take a couple of moose if you don't want them.
I've had a moose burger. It's pretty good.
Well, this week, Barron talks about the recent revelation of a massive data breach at the Office of Personnel Management in Tech Tips.
You are damaging my calm.
Tech Tips with the Barron. Barron, I just heard about a massive data breach at the Office of Personnel Management. Should I be worried?
Knowing your history, Sean, you should be worried. I have to be worried. Anyone who's ever done a security clearance or worked for the federal government needs to be worried. Even if you somehow manage to not be directly affected by this, there's a couple lessons to be had. And please note, if you're friends with anyone who matches the above criteria, they've probably used you as a reference, so your name, address, and phone number at a minimum is involved with this data breach. 1. Don't consider yourself safe or secure. Anything you hand over to another party could end up being compromised. Remember how I talked in episode 4 about the consequences of the cloud?
That was when people put data in the cloud that they didn't want ending up in public hands, and, well, it got out.
Yep, and this is an example where information had to be handed over. It was expected that it would be properly handled and protected, but it wasn't. 2. Just because there are rules and regulations, as well as best practices, doesn't mean they're going to be followed. I am not shocked about the information I've been reading regarding the OPM compromise, but I am unbelievably disheartened and pissed because I know there will be no serious repercussions from this gross negligence.
So how bad are we talking?
Well, it was a vendor demoing a product that discovered the breach. So they were demoing a product on a live production network. That's strike one. For those of you not in IT, you don't demo things on live production networks because they can do damage. If it goes wrong, it can damage your network, it can take it down. It could also install malware if it is a fake vendor trying to infiltrate your network. These are things you just don't do. Continuing on, let me read this blurb from Ars Technica. The IG report noted that just 75% of OPM systems had a valid authorization to operate under Federal Information Security Management Act regulations. This was symptomatic of the way OPM handled its IT programs. A tangle of division-level projects with poor central oversight. Many of them were operated by agency contractors outside the direct control of OPM's IT staff. And, as the IG report noted, several information security agreements between OPM and contractor-operated information systems have expired. The mess continued. The IG noted, that OPM wasn't even sure of what it had on its network. OPM does not maintain a comprehensive inventory of servers, databases, and network devices. In addition, we are unable to independently attest that OPM has a mature vulnerability scanning program. The TLDR of that is you had a bunch of fiefdoms all doing their own thing, no one talking to each other, and no one gave a lick about security. So this brings me to point 3. You should be living your life and planning from a standpoint of when, not if, you will be affected by a data breach.
Well, what would you do to best act on that?
1. Any information that you give employers, government, etc., maintain personal copies for your own records. That way, if a breach comes out of an organization, you will know exactly what data you provided and was most likely lost. Annoyingly, in this case, there will be additional records from interview accounts and other communications regarding your security clearance interviews, which would be gained by somebody else. 2. Have some sort of credit monitoring or protection already set up. I use LifeLock, but there are similar other services that you can use to perform this function. The time to get this stuff set up is before the crap hits the fan, not after. 3. Try and limit what data you expose and where. In this case, the majority of the data exposed you had no choice about. But if something is optional and will not delay you, feel free to leave it off. Alternatively, get an alternate ID if possible for those instances where it may get in the way.
Alternate ID? When and where might I be using an alternate ID?
Well, when you fill out a 4473 for a firearm, it asks for your social security number. You're entrusting the FFL with that information. Now, for the most part, it's probably not going to end up in an electronic data breach, but again, you're trusting that they're going to properly maintain the records. So if you aren't really sure that you want to trust the FFL with that information, and you have a common name, if you leave it off, you're likely to get a delay. You can get around this with a UPIN. If you go to the ATF, you can pay, I think it's $50, and they'll give you a UPIN, and then when you go in and fill out the 4473, instead of providing your social security number, you provide the UPIN they gave you. 4. Have a plan for what you need to do when you find out there's a breach involving your information. I've had 3 breaches in the past year which have all affected me and my personal data. Primera, Home Depot, and now OPM. At each breach, I knew exactly what data was affected, and thanks to me already having things set up, between LifeLock and sending out additional messages regarding my credit, life was simple.
Well, that is actually fairly simple.
Yes, it is, Sean, because it's much better to plan for the worst and hope for the best.
All right, Barron. It was good to talk to you. See you again next week.
See you next week, Sean.
Barron still blogs at the-minuteman.org.
So I've been reading up on this, and let me just say that the level of incompetence exhibited by OPM and the damage that has been done by this hack cannot be overstated. It's really, really bad. And of course, the first thing that the White House said was, well, it's not really a big deal. And so that's the story that everybody has. But I mean, this is awful. This is like saying, well, there was a little bit of a skirmish in Pearl Harbor in 1941.
No big deal.
No big deal.
Everybody keeps saying basically the same thing. Oh my goodness, look at all this stuff they can use to blackmail people. And I think that's, no, you can't use that information to blackmail people because the government already knows it. You can only blackmail people over things that they don't want other people to know. What the real problem is, in my mind, is you can use that to identify every single person who has ever filled out, I think it's called an SF-86, the form you want to fill out if you want a security clearance. Right, so that means every single person who was ever an officer in the military filled out an SF-86. Every single person who applied for a job with the CIA has SF-86. I believe they're different if you get a secret versus a top secret SCI clearance. So the level of information in the file should tell you, I think, I don't know, whether they have a very high clearance. Well, you can identify every single person who has a really high clearance. This person who is just some agronomist who hangs out in, Burma, has this very extensive file in the Office of Personnel Management. What do you think that means?
Yeah.
There you go. Good job, guys. The J Block. So, have you heard about the lady who was faking being black in order to be the head of the Spokane chapter of the NAACP?
I don't think anybody has not heard of this. by now. So we're recording this on the day that this broke.
And see, it's kind of funny, you know, part of me is like, oh my goodness, I can't believe anybody did this. And the other side is like, so what? You know, we're being told you can be anything you want to be. You know, if I wanted to be a woman, I could be a woman. If I want to be black, why can't I be black? Right?
Right.
You know?
If it's all just genetics, then it's all just genetics.
And we can just ignore that.
Right.
And that's cool, you know? Here's my real serious question about this. Why is everybody so mad? I mean, I can understand people who might be politically on the same side of the discussion as me mocking this person for lying and pretending to be something that, to all appearances, she couldn't possibly be. But what is the argument? What are people saying?
Well, I'm definitely in the mocking camp.
Well, yes, but, you know, I mock everybody. So, I mean, you know, why specifically her, right? You know, whoop-de-doo. You know, she's not harming me. Not hurting me. Not doing anything to me. Who's she hurting?
Blink, blink.
You're like,
I don't know.
I can't think of anybody.
I don't know. I'm not in Spokane.
Right. And I personally couldn't give less of a crap what the NAACP in Spokane or anywhere else thinks, you know, and quite frankly, you know, who they hire, and I don't care. But here's what's really interesting to me is that, see, if I went out and said, I am a black woman, why would people be mad at me? Why would this be a problem?
Because you might get preferential treatment on job applications or college applications.
Oh, wait, so you're saying that if I claim a status, a category that I don't actually belong to, I can get benefits for this?
You mean like Elizabeth Warren?
Yeah, kind of like Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if a black woman claimed to be a white man, what benefits is she going to get? It's going to be harder for her to get into college, right?
Right.
Because the same grades and the same SAT score, not going to get you as far if you're not a diversity pick getting into college. No matter what the Supreme Court said about diversity picks, it hasn't changed. We know that. I mean, no, none of us are stupid here. I searched fake black because that's really hilarious. Search fake black on Google and see what comes up. I mean, this is all over Google right now. This article in Indian Country Today Media Network.
That sounds like totally legit.
Indian Country Today Media Network.com. Fake black folks, fake Indians and allies, the native roots of the Rachel Dolezal saga. And you got to read it because it's just funny. I don't think I would agree with him on much of anything, but the dude is hilarious the way he writes, right? Very, very funny. But there's this little segment here. I really don't have a problem when people pretend to be a different race. It likely speaks to a spiritual void within their lives where they feel completely and fundamentally dissatisfied with who they are. And that's sad. But whatever. I really have no problem if some searching white woman or dude wants to dance at a powwow. It is often sometimes hilarious, though. Or raps badly, like the kid from Beverly Hills 90210. But it's different when a person tries to steal the racial identity of a particular race for financial, professional, some other reward. Just like Ward Churchill took opportunity away from real ethnic and political natives, capital natives, by saying that he was native on job applications, Rachel Dolezal took real opportunity away from real black folks when she said that she was black and Native American in her application to be chair of the City of Spokane's Office of Police Ombudsman Commission, and also when she applied to be a part-time professor at Eastern Washington University. That's stealing. That's not influence. That's not inspiration. It happens oftentimes with natives in higher education. Box checkers. People say they're native to make their competition pool smaller and really have no connection to native people. What is he saying here? He's saying that not only is doing this making your chance at getting what you want better, but that it should be that way. That it's more important the color of your skin than it is the content of your character or your academic credentials or any other thing other than your genetics. And the assumption is that she has stolen from somebody something that she didn't earn. Not that the people who happen to be born black or born Native American happen to have earned anything just by the virtue of being born that. It's a genetic accident. But the assumption is that is that is theirs by right and they deserve it. And anybody who comes in and tries to take it without having actually the right genetics is stealing. And I think it's hilarious that there's this whole blind spot. Everybody just totally accepts that. Like, that's totally normal.
The NAACP did release a statement today that I do believe is going to come back and haunt them. One's racial identity is not a qualifying criteria or disqualifying standard for NAACP leadership. In every corner of this country, the NAACP remains committed to securing political, educational, and economic justice for all people, and we encourage Americans of all stripes to become members and serve as leaders in our organization. So the next time that something like what you're describing happens and they come out and say, well, you know, that job really shouldn't go to a white male. That job should go to a minority. You just whip this out. Say, really? You think that? Okay.
Yep. And now a word from our sponsor. You know what will happen. If you ever have to defend yourself, you're going to end up in handcuffs. Are you trained to win the fight after the fight? Sure, you can draw, aim, and put 2 in the 10 ring, but have you learned your legal self-defense? Do you know the law? Go to lawofselfdefense.com/variety to sign up for your legal self-defense class. Each class is tailored to the laws in your state. Attorney Andrew Branco will teach you the law. Not just what the law says, but what the judge's legal opinions say, what the jury instructions say. Sure, you could risk spending the rest of your life in prison because you followed the advice of some gun store counter jockey, or you could spend the day with the man who literally wrote the book on the law of self-defense. Carry a gun so you're hard to kill. Know the law so you're hard to convict. Go to lawofselfdefense.com/variety to sign up for a legal self-defense class in your state. And make sure to use discount code VARIETY at checkout to receive 10% off. And don't forget that we're still accepting donations at gofundme.com/GunBlog VarietyCast. Every little bit helps towards getting us some better audio equipment. This week, Weird talks about another online anti-gunner, the guy who calls himself Baldr Odinson, who's taking a victory lap over Oregon's recent private sale ban. In This Week in Anti-Gun Nuttery. So hey, Weird, how's it going?
It is going good, Sean.
So what do you got going on this week?
Yeah, we talked about Joan Peterson last week, so why don't we go to another mainstream well of mine? Have you ever heard of a man named Jason Kilgore?
Oh, how is Reverend Jim Jones Jr. doing?
Yeah, some might know him as Baldr Odinson because, goodness knows, take a screen name from a crappy Marvel superhero. That's pretty awesome. He's taking a little victory lap over the fact that Oregon now has universal background checks. So, from his blog, no longer will felons, the dangerously mentally ill, wife beaters, minors, or any other prohibited person be able to purchase a gun simply by answering an ad, meeting someone in a parking lot, and paying cash with no background check. The seller, too, will be held accountable and will no longer be able to claim ignorance.
So they passed a law saying you're not allowed to do something and that will totally stop it?
Yes, they passed a law that says you're no longer allowed to break the law. Again, hey, Sean, you've heard that you can no longer get yourself a prostitute or get yourself a line of cocaine because them's is illegal.
It is. It's totally illegal. Not even possible anymore. All they got to do is pass a law. Not possible.
We've had universal background checks in Massachusetts for, longer than I've been living here. I don't remember when it got passed, but it's been a while. It's probably been about 2 decades. And nobody illegally buys guns in Massachusetts anymore. Can't be done.
That's true.
Clearly, we've got a lot of dissent towards this, and Jason's got a response to us. To all these pro-gun advocates, I can simply say this. We are a nation of laws, passed by duly elected representatives of the people and interpreted by judges. You have to follow these laws, whether you agree with them or not. Arms insurrection is illegal and specifically ruled out in the Constitution that you claim to hold dear. If you don't like the laws, you can either elect officials who agree with you and work to change them, or you can challenge the laws in judicial court. That is the nature of our representational democracy and the checks and balances called for in the Constitution. You can either follow these laws or be criminals yourselves.
So I'm supposed to feel bad if I don't want to follow a stupid law?
Or feel bad that you don't want to follow a stupid law that's already illegal in its face because the Second Amendment means what it says it means. And also, let's face it, he's totally talking out of both sides of his mouth because, they're super upset about the Heller and McDonald decision, even though that was the courts of our laws. They're really upset about the fact that they can't pass gun control laws on a national level because it's just not popular and the elected officials do not want to stand for it. And they just don't like the Second Amendment entirely. And then also, this whole armed insurrection, it's totally an absurd argument. Nobody's taking arms up against the government. I mean, the few examples he might have are lone wolf crazies and isolationists like the Ruby Ridge people of the Branch Davidians, who also for a fact were wiped out by government SWAT teams. So there's something to be said about that. I wonder how Jason would talk about civil rights activists like Rosa Parks and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who fought against unjust and unconstitutional laws and sometimes even put in jail for it.
Exactly. He wants to have it both ways. He wants to say, you have to follow the rules that we pass, but we don't have to respect the rules that are already in play, written in the Constitution.
Exactly. Or the court cases, or even things. Look at George Zimmerman. He followed the rules of the law and the court ruled and he is innocent. And nope, not in their eyes.
Oh, they hate him.
He is a murderer. He hasn't been convicted of murder. He didn't even murder anybody, but he is a murderer. And this really kind of goes into, they're also trying to control the language. You've got the whole CSGV insurrectionist timeline. They turn everyone who disagrees with them into armed radicals trying to overthrow the government. And any sort of armed radical that they can find is part of the quote-unquote gun lobby because maybe they had a gun, so therefore they're an NRA member. And also I've got an interesting link. All right, so we're not entirely going to lay off Joan this week. With Joan at her blog, someone mentioned the word thug. And Joan points out that, oh no, under Newspeak version 2.0, the word thug is essentially code for the N-word. And this guy was, totally unaware of the new progressive talking points. And so therefore, since he wasn't aware of it in the first place, he never meant it that way. But now, all of a sudden, Joan had branded him a racist without him ever uttering a racist term.
Well, that's the way they do it. Change the words. They don't mean what you think they mean. They mean what I think they mean, and I think they mean you're a racist.
Well, also it shows that they simply can't win by playing fair, so they're not going to play fair.
No. Why would you expect them to play fair? That's not who they are. All right, Weird. It was good to talk to you. Let's see you again next week.
Talk to you next week, Sean.
In addition to appearing here, Weird is a regular host at The Squirrel Report and blogs at weirdworld.com. That's WEERDworld.com. Yeah, you really get a window onto the strange worldview of the anti-gunners when they open their mouth and something other than a prepared talking point comes out, don't you?
Man, that Jason Kilgore character, I heard about him a couple of years ago, and I feel so sad for him. He's just so stupid.
I just expect someday to find out that he's dressed himself in a purple jumpsuit and chased the Hal Bopp comet off into another freaking dimension.
You know, that wouldn't be outside the realm of possibility, I don't think.
You've seen him in his white jumpsuit, right?
I have seen him in his white jumpsuit.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Dude, get some help. Seriously.
Stuff that grinds my gears.
Comcast. Again. Still. So,
what did Comcast do to you this time?
Well, so apparently my 1 year of reduced price on my internet has just expired. Anyway, so my bill for internet just doubled. And of course, the reason why I'm upset with Comcast right now is because they will not ever tell you what your bill's going to be until you get it, right? They're like, oh, well, we've got this promotion for this. And it's like, okay, well, what's it going to be after that? Well, that varies. No, it should be on your website. It should be on your website. This is the price. This is what you pay when you get a service. I'm going to go talk to my state house rep or something, because this just...
You saying there's got to be a law?
There needs to be a law.
And you know what? If it's only Comcast getting puppy killing SWAT teams, maybe I'll make an exception, right? Watch me fly my geek flag here, but the marketing branch of the Sirius Cybernetics Corporation first against the wall when the revolution comes, Comcast's customer service second.
Yeah, those guys. So I may call up Comcast tomorrow or next week and say, hey, so I hear Google Fiber's coming, so I'm going to ditch you guys and get Google Fiber. Now, I know that Google Fiber is not going to be here for like another 2 years, but I'm sure that they've gotten a lot of those kind of phone calls and, hey, maybe I'll get another 6 months of reduced whatever. So,
You know,
that was actually their argument a couple of years ago as to why they didn't publish the prices on their website. Because if they did that, then nobody would ever buy their service.
they actually made that argument.
They actually made that argument. Our customers are accustomed to getting steep discounts, and we wouldn't want to confuse them by putting up prices that they would likely never pay. What?
I'm not sure what that means.
I don't either.
That's like politician level.
Yeah. What you got?
The word investment.
Just the word?
Well, maybe not the word itself, maybe the way it keeps getting used. The left likes to abuse the hell out of the word investment. They must have focus grouped this and discovered that conservatives and libertarians like the word invest because to us it means that, we're going to expect some kind of a return on our investment. I like townhall.com's statement in their 10 concepts liberals talk about incessantly but don't understand. Number 6 was investment. Actual investments involve putting money or resources into a project in hopes that they will appreciate in value. Liberals skip the second half of the equation. To them, investment is taking somebody else's tax dollars and putting into a project that liberals approve of, and whether a profit is made or lost is so irrelevant that they typically don't even bother to measure the results. Lyle at Ultimac puts it a whole lot more bluntly.
Because it's Lyle.
Because it's Lyle, yeah. Invest. To confiscate and redistribute. Example, we must invest in our children's future. I am in no danger whatsoever of ever getting low blood pressure because in an effort to stay abreast of what the enemy is doing, I listen to the daily podcast from the local left-wing think tank, NC Policy Watch.
God bless you.
Oh, Jesus. Every time they talk about taking money out of my pocket and giving it to some jerk that I'd rather punch than support, they call it an investment. Throwing money down a public school rat hole. Investing in our children's future.
Oh, come on. That's investing in teachers' unions.
Exactly. Shoveling more cash at the drones that make up our university faculty and staff. Investing in our state's economic future. Dumping more handouts on the people too damn lazy to go and get a job. Well, I'm not really sure what they call that, but I'm pretty sure the word investment is in there somewhere. And when do I get my dividend? When does my interest check come? Where's my shareholder vote? And where's my stock certificate? I don't get any of this crap. I just get my pocket picked and the money given to people who cut my throat at the first opportunity.
Well, that's because you didn't build that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure the left thinks it's an investment that will pay off in the future. They're taking my money to pay off their allies, and they're getting the dividend of more power. Their clients win, they win, and I lose. They'd probably tell me that 2 out of 3 wasn't bad. Well, that's our show for the week. Thanks again to Rob Allen for our music, and thank you for listening to the GunBlog VarietyCast. Constructive criticism can be sent to Sean at SeanSorrentino.com and hate mail to WizardPC at GunsCarsTech.com. Show notes can be found at GunBlogVarietyCast.com/episode 43. The lead investigator, Detective Lieutenant Jim... Jesus. This week, Aaron's going to explain Colonel Cooper's color codes. Try saying that one 5 times fast.
Colonel...
I had a hell of a time getting through it.
Colonel Cooper's color codes. Colonel Cooper's color codes. Colonel Cooper's color codes.